Bernstein, I'm so happy that you're here.
You have no idea how happy I am to be back with you. I love you.
This is like Christmas, Hanukkah, everything. I've just had Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, and then you. They say like good things come in threes, like the trifecta. You wrote another book. There's more flowing from your gorgeous soul. And this book is big stuff. It's coming out in a few days. You've already said so much. So what made you say, no, this also has to be shared? Why did you write this book?
You said, oh, you have so much you needed to have shared. I think this is the most profound sharing I've ever done. This is a story I could not tell until I was on the other side. And it's a story of how to thrive and survive. And it's my story of recovering from trauma. It's my story of bringing my body back to safety, bringing my mind back to safety, and how the reader can do the same.
It's so courageous in a world where we don't offer up our vulnerability so often. And it's so generous. It's so generous that you were willing to take us on that journey.
Mm-hmm. It's timely. It's more relevant than it's ever been. And it's so interesting because this wasn't like planned, none of my books always come out because I needed it first. I needed to heal first. Through my journey of healing, I write about it. And then I delivered the message. But I didn't know that this book was going to come out 2 years into a pandemic when the world is having a collective trauma and people are awake more than ever before to their wounds from the past, their wounds in the present. They may not even be knowing what it is, but they know it's up because a lot of the defense mechanisms that we built around ourselves, we no longer could really mess with anymore because a lot of obstacles were in the way. So we had to be left alone with ourselves.
So let's unpack this a little bit. Or a lot of it. So the name of the book for the listeners is Happy Days, The Guided Path from Trauma to Profound Freedom and Inner Peace. So let's begin with, how do you even recognize when there is trauma? And then let's talk about how we can sort of cross that ocean into profound, I love those words, profound, a profound sense of freedom. But let's begin with how we recognize it and then what that even means to sort of shift into a different place of alignment.
Well, first and foremost, I think 5 years ago, if this book had come out, people would see the word trauma and they'd be like, nope, no, thank you, not going there.
Yeah.
Now I think there's a huge opening. People are more ready for this than ever because we've been the witness of a lot of unresolved wounds coming back up. Because when you're in crisis, your old stuff shows up. And every one of us is traumatized. We've all had some form of trauma, whether it's a big T trauma or a small T trauma. And I'll explain the difference. A big T trauma is experiencing abuse or neglect as a child. A big T trauma is being raped or having some kind of violent attack or living through an experience that was an earth-shattering experience. When you have a small T trauma, it could be something like being bullied or being told you're stupid by your teacher, or just feeling like you weren't seen as a child. And these small T traumas really go overlooked. And that's why I'm saying that we're all traumatized. If it's not such a catastrophe or if it's not such a huge moment in time, we won't diagnose ourselves or get diagnosed with trauma, but we all got it. And the reason I can safely say we've all got it is that we've all lived through a collective trauma and we're continuously living through a collective trauma known as this worldwide pandemic. So, and this collective trauma has activated those younger traumas in us.
And recently you were you were very vulnerable and brave and shared some of what you share overlaps in the book, where you went through a really painful experience with a baby and a pregnancy. And I I was just blown away at how you found your way to this place of the infinite, this place of wholeness, even with sitting in and being available for all of the feelings, for pain. That was exquisite and mesmerizing.
Mm.
And I actually lost a baby to trisomy 18 2 years ago, and he was ill, and I had to go to the hospital with him alive and end that journey, which was really,
Mm.
really hard.
Mhm.
And when I witnessed you in your experience more recently than this 2 years ago, I was just so healed and given so much by proxy of being aware of you and where you were able to swirl and show up. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I'd be happy to. And I just want to acknowledge you and all the mamas out there and the fathers out there who've experienced this type of loss, because it happens all the time and it's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you a question. Were you still pregnant and he was alive, or was he? Yeah, that was my experience too. So,
I've
so,
never met anybody else who had that experience. That's crazy.
oh yeah, no, I didn't have a miscarriage. I had to do a
Same.
D. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Oh my God. I can't believe we're having this conversation.
it's so big and it's so important, but it's
Yeah.
also a testament to the work that we do on ourselves to get through it. So 3 months ago, I was 5.5 months pregnant. I was supposed to be delivering in a few weeks, actually. And my 20-week scan, the baby's alive, but he's 2 weeks behind in growth. And thank you so much for helping me just feel into the grief a little bit, because I've been really pushing past it. Okay, so thank you. This is really helpful for me because I've been really like just moving on, and I know that the grief comes in waves, and I want to honor you for the grief that you might be experiencing right now too. But yeah, he was I spent a year doing IVF to get this one healthy embryo, and I kept saying, all you need is one. And I remember when we were at the doctor's office, they were really getting nervous, and we were like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like, do you have any embryos saved? And we're like, no. My husband said under his breath, all you need is one. Anyway, I'm gonna get to the point. um this is really valuable, though. I just want to really acknowledge you for holding the space for me to just feel, because even though it's happening publicly, it's necessary, because I don't. And I'll explain a little bit about my grace and grieving, and how why this is a moment that's very valuable for me. But I yeah, so the baby was alive in my body at 5.5 weeks, and I had to go into the hospital. I had to live with him, knowing he was going to be taken out of me, and I had to go into the hospital, and I had to let him go. And his name was Owen, and I believe he came in to my body at that time in that way to give me a lot of grace, to give me a lot of opportunity to learn, and an opportunity to get closer to my husband, an opportunity to really give my 3-year-old my all, and to just really never sweat the small stuff ever again. And so what I noticed was all the decades of personal growth and spiritual work just hold me like a pillow of faith when this happened. And I was able to even witness what I'm noticing right now was this part of me, a protector part of me that was dissociated. It's a very important part that shows up in times of crisis. And I think it's necessary at times. And I was able to notice, okay, dissociated part is just up, and she's doing her job right now, which is to numb you out and then titrate into the grief and then go back to numbing and then into the grief. And that's what we're doing even here right now, is being able to touch into the feeling that I'm so grateful. This is going to sound like the wrong word, but that you activated in me in a really profound way. And I'm deeply grateful for that, because I've been very removed. And so grief is just like this. It's it's going to come in moments like this, public, for podcast. And then the work is to be fully present in that moment with that grief. And then when you notice that part of you that wants to just be like, okay, I'm going to check out now, or it's time to get back to work or whatever, then just say thank you for helping me not live in this grief, not live in this victim mentality. And so I think that the healing process and to go through grief with grace means that you have the bravery to titrate into it and touch into it and then come out, and then go in and then come out. And that's actually a lot of what the trauma healing process is. It's not rip off the Band-Aid and just feel it all at once. It's just notice what's up and then come back to safety and then go back in and come back. And it's slow. And it's going to come in random moments. And I'm so grateful that this was one of them.
You are so easy to love, and you're so beautiful, like inside and outside. Like when Hashem made you, he just put so much extra glitter and magic in you, and you know that. And for you to be able to be really with this in this moment, like for everyone who's listening and everyone who has you on a pedestal, which it's appropriate on some level, you're pretty amazing. But this is your legacy. Like this really shows the way in which you are so available to really live this fully spiritual existence. And I just want to add this because you just gave such a beautiful opening. I just wanted to add this, that you and I shared such a similar fact pattern. That's the circumstance that I lived, that I went to Cedar Sinai with a baby that was alive in me, and it was around the same time, the 20th week, and it was so painful for me, Gabby. And I had gone through 11 rounds of fertility treatment, and this was like, it was similar. And I had
I got you. I know exactly.
yeah, you got me. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a healer in Jerusalem. And I was like, this is insane that I'm like spending this next week with this being. And it's like the most painful. Like, I wish that God would just like, let God do it. Like, why am I even in the... Anyway, she said a few things to me. I feel compelled to share them with you because maybe this will offer you some light.
Yeah, please.
So she said, Kathy, it's our belief in Jewish tradition that we see the mission before we sign up for the assignment to come into this world. And she said his soul looked into the future and signed, volunteered for the mission, knowing that this would be the tikkun, the whatever the soul needed, like this was it. And then she said, can I just say to you, how cool is it that his entire experience of reality was Kathy? Like all he knew about the world was your vibration. And she goes, what a gift. Like that was his full experience of reality. It's just you, your way of looking at the world, the way you breathe, the way you dance, the way you see it. She goes, what a high level. And then I said to her, this is so hard for me to do this. And she said, Kath, you know Torah, right? She's like, what's the hardest test? The hardest test is Abraham going up to the mountain with Isaac. And she said, and what do we learn? That they went together, that he walked with him. And she said, you're not going alone. She goes, next week when you go to that surgery, you're going together. Like together you walk there, together you go there, which was just so amazing. And when I came out of surgery, I was crying, and I turned to the doctor who was there as I was waking up. And I said to her, I'm crying. Like, why am I crying? I'm not in any pain. And she said, Kathy, I've done so many different kinds of surgeries. She said, I only saw that a couple times and it's only been with mothers. And she said, as soon as we took him, you started to cry in the OR. You
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
And you've been crying since then and you're not in any pain. And that next night was Shabbat. And when we were singing Shalom Aleichem, the last verse is Tzeitzem L'Shalom, where you like tell the angels like they can go. And the soul hangs out for a few days. And I said to the kids, he's here now. So just like thank him for being here and let's just send him back with like so much love. And I felt similar to you that the amount of love that came, the roses, the flowers. My house was like a floral shop, people.
It was a floral shop. Yep.
And I felt that feeling of like, maybe he came to let me experience being carried on wings of so much love by so many people so unconditionally. So it's amazing how we can choose what we make meaning of. And I don't know if that helped you, but
Oh God, I can't stop crying. That was the most, I want you to send that to me if you don't mind. It was the most beautiful thing. And it's so soothing to me to just remember and to honor that experience, because if you don't show up for it in these moments, it's going to come back to you in different moments that you don't want it to, right?
yeah.
It's going to show up
And the
yeah.
thing is with grief and with any kind of pain, it's like my mindfulness teacher used to say that feelings are like visitors, like they're just going to keep knocking until we let them in. And Janine Roth, like I love her work where she talks about, just feeling the feeling itself. There's a beauty in that. Like grief, when you and I were just crying,
Yeah.
what was that? That was love come alive. Like that's what we were experiencing, the love, right? So it's like to deny yourself, to tell yourself you can't handle it. Anyway, back to you. This is about you. This is about your work. This is about your book.
But everything that we just shared and everything that you just shared is about this book.
Yeah.
Is that it's the grief of our own loss as innocent children. It's the grief that of the parts of ourselves that departed when we were so young. And it's really giving ourselves the voice to honor, care for, love, and respect the inner children within ourselves, within our own system, so that we can then move through difficult adult moments like this with faith and grace. And I believe that the way that you and I have been able to be here right now and resiliently speak of these topics, even with the tears, but the tears are part of the resilience, is because of the personal growth work that we've done in our life. And so that doesn't mean when you practice spiritual principles and you commit to therapeutic processes and you heal your wounds from the past, it doesn't mean that shit doesn't hit the fan. But what it means is that you can see it through the lens of a spiritual perspective, just like what your was it a rabbi that spoke with you or your teacher?
About the feelings knocking on the door.
Yes. No. Particularly about the baby having this experience.
Yeah, rabbi. Yeah.
Like that to me is just extraordinary, and I echo those beliefs that our souls make a commitment in this lifetime to come in and to experience whatever we need to experience so that we can really have the spiritual assignment that we need. And sometimes those souls come in the form of 5 months to just be in the presence of our energy or to teach us a profound lesson. But sometimes it's not about us. It's that soul needed. We needed to be a conduit through which that soul came through to have that experience in our body.
Yeah.
And that knowing of safety and security and love. And that's enough. That's what they needed. And we got to take one for the team sometimes.
Yep. And you said before moving through, and you talk about in even the title of the book, it's the path. It's from here to this place of profound freedom. And Deepak was here last week and he was talking about how like the purpose of life. I said, what do you think it is? And he's like, knowing who you are, and who you are. He said, you're Jewish. He goes, in your words, it's the Ein Sof, the endless light, the was, is, always will be. I think that when you just were referring to like, it's our spiritual, it's our work, personal development work that it helps us. I think it's that. I think it's that we either are in this place of ego where we make up stories and we get stuck and we're sort of just kind of disconnected from this wholeness, from this infinite, from this I am, from what really is. And you have allowed so many people to step into that through your work, through your knowing, through the way that you've been able to teach us. And you talk about it in this book. Help us understand, because sometimes that automatic program just keeps playing those illusions of scarcity and we're not safe and we're all of the doom and gloom. And there is this other aspect that exists. How do we change the radio station so we don't get stuck in it and we can move into what you call profound freedom?
So I like how you said change the radio station. It's not just about changing our thoughts. They will change as a result of this work because our thoughts become beliefs. And those beliefs become experiences in our body. And those experiences in our body get truncated. And we just consistently react and respond and react and respond to those disturbances that are not resolved. So the undoing of those traumas with a big T, traumas with a small t from the past or even the present happens through connection to exactly what you were just saying, the light within you, connection to what in internal family systems therapy, which I've just recently trained in, is known as self with a capital S. It's the connection to what I've spoken about for decades, which is higher power of your own understanding. And in each of us, there is a self. There is that presence of love, that presence of compassion, that presence of courage, creativity, calmness. And when we start to get direct access to that presence, then that presence can become like an internal parent that helps us resolve all the addictions, all of the protection mechanisms that we've built up against our historical suffering. And that is the same thing that Deepak's saying, just in different language. It's that we all have that access. And he said to get to know yourself, but what he means, is that what he said? To get to know yourself or to
know who you really are, what the self really is, the I am.
Yeah. Exactly what he's saying is to get to know intimately the God within you, to know the self with a capital S within you, to know that in your system, in your energetic presence, in your conscious awareness, in your unconscious awareness is the presence of a internal parent who is undamaged, who is full of love and all those qualities of courage and compassion and curiosity, and that it's always there. That presence is always there to care for every part of who you are. And that's the goal of this book, is to help the reader return to and create direct access to that part of themselves so that they can really, truly undo the patterns from the past so they can be free in the present.
It's a must read. We'll put the links in the show notes, and I'm sure it's going to be an immediate bestseller. But you say a lot of things that I quote a lot. One of the things I've been quoting of yours lately, I said it to Mike Dooley the other day. He goes, "Oh, let me write that down." Gabby said that. That's great. You say, we don't attract what we want. We attract what we are.
Well, Wayne Dyer really said that. That's
Wayne. Did he? Okay. Well, I saw you posted on Instagram. So you kind of are all saying the same things though, but
I'm channeling Wayne Dyer every single day.
He's the best, but I'll, as much as I love and know him, I actually only have heard you say that. So that's cool. Either way, I love both. So what's so big about this, because everyone's like, oh, Gabby's going to be on her show. We should talk about manifesting and we should talk about that piece. We don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. Let's dive deeper here, because what you're saying, what you just said, which I'd never heard it put that way, is like inside of us, right? That God of our understanding, and that is the self, right? And that can parent us, that can lead us home, that can help us cross the ocean. That is it. That is the work, right? To really get, if we attract what we are, then what are we? And how do we calibrate to it? So let's talk about how we can find access to it and memorize it so we can come back to it as often as we need to.
Well, it's not finding it, it's returning to it. And it's that beautiful quote from A Course in Miracles. I'm not here to teach you the meaning of miracles. I'm here to teach you how to release the blocks of the presence. Excuse me. I'm not here to teach you the meaning of love. I'm here to teach you how to release the blocks to the presence of love within you.
I love it.
And that is the path. Now, to release the blocks to the presence of love within you means that God's going to show up in a lot of different forms when you become open and willing to go there. And so, what kind of forms? In my case, spiritual practice. In my case, people like Marianne, Deepak, and Wayne. In my case, deep therapeutic processes that I believe are not, they're under this guise of therapy, but the practices that Spirit guided me to are profound spiritual practices. And so in the book, I really go deep with my journey of addiction to remembering in my late 30s, remembering experiencing sexual abuse as a child, and then workaholism and then postpartum depression and all of the experiences that I've had through life that have been divinely planted by God, really, or by my soul. My soul chose this path to get to this moment and also to be where I was last year and the year before and the year before, because each step of the way was revealing to me deeper opportunities for growth so that I could heal myself and also be an expression of that light through the books and the way that I serve others. And so the real trauma recovery, the undoing of those energetic disturbances came through spiritual faith and these profound spiritual therapeutic processes, somatic experiencing, which is a body-based therapy, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a profound therapy that uses bilateral brain stimulation to help you open up the window of tolerance to process old unresolved emotions. And practices like IFS, internal family systems, which helps us get a direct access to self energy, which is just like a direct access to God. And so these therapies there's spirit and God in all of it. There's spirit and God in all of it. And this is a journey of therapeutic process and spiritual development to get the other side of trauma. It's really my most profound spiritual book. So while it's not a book on manifesting, it's not a book on, spiritual practices all throughout, it's the most profoundly spiritual book. And it's the book that will help you manifest most, because when we do the inner work, we get closer to that truth of who we are.
It's 100,000% true. It's always so fascinating how many people show up on January 1st and they're like, you got goals and you wanted this and what's your vision board and all of this stuff. And if you keep showing up with the vibrational signature that you have and you're not willing to really make space to then change that, it doesn't matter what goals you set up, you're going to keep going back into this pattern, whatever this pattern is. So this, to me, it's like, this is the work. We live in a culture where everyone just wants to have fun and feel good. And there really is no space for how are you really, or can I sit beside you and not even cheer you up, but just sit and witness for you and hold for you what is, and can we make space to invite all of these feelings to tea with us every day and not carry shame around feeling it. So let's talk about that, because I do think that there's such resistance to even naming or acknowledging. There's so much shame that we carry that we don't even want to open the door. So how can we do that in a way that feels safe, and how can we do that in a way where we know it's not going to swallow us, that we will be able to be with it and then step away from it?
I think the most profound path to this practice that you're referencing is through internal family systems therapy. And I've been practicing it for a decade in my own therapy with my therapist. And then I got trained in it. And it's been brought to us and brought to the world through my friend, Dick Schwartz, who is a profound therapist and real channel. He's not going to be able to say that in his clinical space, but I'm going to say it for him. He channeled this material from his guides to give this gift to the world. And so the premise of IFS is that we have these child parts of ourselves that we've pushed down and shut down and locked up under lock and key. And those are known as exiled parts. And then we have all these forms of protection. You might call them coping mechanisms, but they're called protector parts. And so that's the me for me, like the dissociation or the cocaine addict or the workaholic or the part of me that gets outraged or wants to control everything. And those protectors have very extreme patterns because they're really protecting us from feeling those impermissible feelings. But when we get to this really important point, which is that we all have self, and self is that same thing that Deepak was referencing, get to know the truth of who you are. Self is courageous and compassionate and caring and calm, and it's curious. And when we really connect to that self energy, that's when we can allow self to have direct access to the parts of us that were just so activated, the protectors, and soothe them. And so it's just like saying, okay, I've got this ego part of me and I'm going to bring it to God for healing. Well, in this instance, I've got this protector part that's just pushing down that old young part. And I'm going to just speak to it with some compassion and extend some curiosity and be courageous enough to get to know it and notice it. What is it saying to me? How does it make me feel? What does it need from me? And as we begin that dialogue between self and the protector parts, our whole system settles. The protectors can lay down their knives.
Yeah.
They can clear space for us to do deeper work. And I think your audience can handle that. Like, I think that's a lot to really, I've been talking about it a lot on these podcasts and I'm doing my best to demystify the principles, but I think this audience in particular can handle that. And the simplicity is that we all have that self that we keep speaking of. And when self becomes that internal parent and the leader of all of the different parts of who we are, we can get our nervous system and our subconscious and our conscious thoughts and our experiences and the ways we react to everything in life to a much safer place.
It's so important. I was feeling all these feelings come up in me as you named those pieces. And I remember the first time I met Danielle Laporte, and she's like, you know, what's so scary about being a workaholic is people will be like, you're crushing it. It's
Yeah.
so impressive.
Yeah. It's so
And
exactly.
and then you go, wait a minute, let me be brutally honest with myself. You know, I'm addicted to this achievement thing. I'm addicted to creating content. I'm addicted to this. And what you just sort of laid out so gently and so beautifully is a path where I think we could just start to become aware of it, and without judgment, just curiosity, like you said, just invite it. Like, what is it here? What is it protecting you from that
Well,
maybe?
let's actually work with it. Do you have a workaholic part?
Oh, it's like my biggest part. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to talk? Do you want to just connect?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
You have a little buy-in here. Okay. So
Yeah.
buy-in before I can get in. We can't go into the system without you wanting to get into the system. Okay. Um, so take a moment to just connect with your body and just take a breath and just notice what you notice and find and just focus on what that workaholic feels like in your body. Does it have a gender? Does it have an image that comes to mind? What do you notice?
Oh, it's so much of my identity. I feel it in my chest and in my shoulders, and yeah, I definitely feel, I can feel it. Like it's like an armor almost.
Does it have a gender or an age or anything that you know about it?
It actually, what came up, which I'm not sure why, but I just felt like I saw myself in my living room at like 9 years old.
Okay. So she's a little girl. Okay. Beautiful. And anything else that you know about her that you might want me to know?
I think she just feels like she needs to do a lot for a lot of people. And that's her identity, is like showing up and doing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How do you, Kathy, adult resource Kathy, that's with me here, that's so beautiful and profoundly spiritual and connected and divine, How do you feel towards her?
I love her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would it be beneficial to tell her that, to say to her, I love you? Yeah. What is she, does she know that you're here?
Wow. I've never asked that question to myself. No.
Mm. Mm. What does she need right now?
She needs to know that she is loved no matter what she does or how much she can help.
Okay. So she's not yet aware that you're here. Does she know I'm here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And does she know that I love her? And that I'm so curious about her. And I have so much compassion towards her.
That is so sweet.
So, with that awareness that she knows that I'm here with her, can she speak up a little bit more about what she might need from us, from me?
She needs permission to rest.
Excellent. Excellent. Can you say that to her?
Yeah.
What would resting look like to you? Visually, like, is there a space that you'd be in where you rest? Is there anything that comes to mind that's restful for you visually?
Um, yeah, just being able to be quiet and still and not have to serve and meet everybody's needs, even just being in a moment, just quiet and still.
Is there a place that you feel safe being quiet and still?
In my backyard.
All right, right on. Okay.
Right.
If you extended some energy towards her and invited her to the backyard, just close your eyes for a second, because let's see if she knows that you're there and that you want to take her to the backyard for a little while. Give her a little break. Does she know that you're there now?
Yeah.
Feels okay. Now, just in your own inner awareness, just visualize what that would be like to take her out of the living room, from the childhood living room, and just bring her to the backyard. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Let me know when you guys are there.
Okay. We're there.
How does it feel to be with her in the backyard right now?
Good.
How does it feel in your body?
Relief.
Hmm. What is she saying and doing now that she's in the backyard?
She just feels noticed and happy.
Yeah. Now that she's not in her regular job of workaholism and she's in the backyard, is there anything else that she'd rather be doing?
Just more of that.
More of just nothing, more resting.
Resting, yeah. And yeah.
Just resting. Great. Excellent. Wants to sit in the sun and just have a little iced tea with you. Excellent. How does she feel towards you now?
Good.
Yeah.
Taken care of.
Beautiful.
Acknowledged.
Yes, yes. How do you feel towards her?
It's amazing. I just can feel like 900 bricks are just set down.
Yeah. The wall that you built up against her has been dismantled now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, love. Oh, Kathy, I want to send so much love to the little girl. And I just want to thank her for being so brave.
You're so sweet.
And honestly, the little girl is a part that's hard to get to. The workaholic was in the way of her. So the workaholic stepped aside to let us get to know the little girl. And it was absolutely profound. And I want to honor yourself, all those C qualities of yourself, the courage and the compassion and the curiosity for swooping right in so effortlessly to just give her a break, just bring her to safety. And so this is an opportunity. What we just did is bringing yourself to help parent her, care for her. So your adult resourced, undamaged self. Yeah. Always notice when she's going into act, when workaholic is there. You can ask workaholic to step aside, and you can grab the little girl by the hand off the couch and bring her back to the backyard.
It's so big. I just got so much healing from that. And I'm so, you know what it is, Gabby? It's like, I think a lot of people feel this way. I certainly feel this way in moments that love is earned, and how you just showed up for me. So complete, generous, unconditional presence is like, I've gotten so good at being the most helpful,
Mhm.
most charming, most intellect, whatever I need to be for other people. And then they're like, great, more of that, you know? And what you just gave me and that journey you took me through in holding all of that, it's unbelievable. And it took however many minutes.
Mhm.
And I just like got a huge, it's like I just crossed a bridge.
Mhm. Your ability to resource self and then have self connect to her, that right into the child part, is a testament to the profound transformational work you've been doing in your life.
Thank you.
And it is why I felt safe enough on a podcast to go there with you. It's not it's a this is a journey that doesn't work so quickly all the time. It always works. It always works if there's buy-in. But you went so fast. And I noticed the part of you that has such this incredible ability to see others,
Yeah.
to really truly take other people in such a huge way. And I noticed it from the second we started, Kathy. I just felt so seen by you. And so I want you to honor that part that's like so giving and loving and caring and available, and say, wow, you're really doing big work in the world, but you can also be a little, this is the IFS language, so don't take it the wrong way, but it's these parts it's also protector, right? And it's protecting you from seeing yourself.
Totally. My God. And we've done 600 episodes with some of our mutual favorite people. And I've had the pleasure of having you here before. And in 600 episodes, no one has ever seen me or named any of this, which, I mean, you're just such a gift. And I so am here for it. And I, I don't know. How extraordinary. I did not anticipate that we would be having this conversation, and how awesome to be a vibrational match for this conversation, because it is blow your hair back
Mhm.
amazing. And yeah, thank you for all of that. You're right. that's the gift I love to give is really holding and seeing people.
Yeah.
And you're right. I can learn to turn that toward myself. And that's very much needed.
Correct. Yeah. And that's why it's important to recognize that all the parts of ourselves, even though they might feel extreme or addictive or whatever, workaholic, they're very valuable and they all have a very important service. And when they get out of their extreme roles, they can be used as a force for good, real great good. And they've been doing a good job all along. They've been doing the best that they can, you know, they've been doing the best they can to keep us safe from those feelings that we didn't want to feel. And I go into this in depth in the book, and I have a whole chapter on IFS and what it means to me. And I really go deep into the practice of helping people create a direct line to that self, the self energy, and all those self qualities. And when we establish that connection, we become the internal parent. Self becomes the internal parent of our system.
It's incredible. It's a must read. I want to ask you this question because it comes up a lot for our listeners, which is some people will say, Gabby, I don't have a problem feeling bad. It's feeling good that I have a problem with. I actually feel bad all the time. So isn't that me being with trauma? I feel sad and self-doubt and lousy all the time. How do you know the difference between feeling like shit and actually showing up to feel whatever needs to be acknowledged? And how can we then set down this agreement that we're supposed to feel bad all the time, where people tend to live there, and instead understand that actually there is a experience of feeling good that's also available?
Absolutely. So I actually say throughout the book, and I've said this all throughout my career, that you can be going through really tough shit and still have fun along the way. And so I wrote this book after 42 years of life with a lot of tough shit that I've shown up for. Some of it, many people recognize, and some people may not have even seen anything like that in their life. But the entire journey of living through those traumatic events and breakdowns and whatever I was going through, I still leaned into the light along the way. And so if you just allow yourself to be going through whatever you're going through and become willing to do some deeper work around it, that's all that's required. And then while you go through that journey of deepening your practice of self-awareness and self-soothing, you open up your capacity to give yourself permission to still have fun along the way, to have many moments of light along the way. Another form, feeling like shit is another protector mechanism. You know, it's like, oh, I'm a victim, or I'm,
Wow.
stressed, or depression, anxiety. These are other, and listen, I want to be real clear when I talk about depression and anxiety too, because in the book, I also share about being diagnosed with a chemical condition called postpartum depression and anxiety that took me down. And in that moment, I needed psychiatric support. So
Yeah.
I don't want to blow off depression and anxiety at all. But I do want to say that the feeling like shit, that's not a biochemical issue, is another form of numbing out the impermissible feelings that we've, been talking about today.
Yeah, it's so true. And that is a beautiful way of shedding light on that. And again, this book is so good for everybody because you cover so much. But I do think that pain is inevitable, but suffering is kind of optional. And what you're laying out for us is like you say, it is a path to that inner peace, that profound freedom. I think that what we don't recognize is that the thoughts and the feelings are also generating cortisol, where we biologically get addicted to the suffering. Can you talk about that for a second?
The book too.
I know, that's why I'm mentioning it.
There's a whole chapter on the psychosomatic effects of trauma and unresolved belief systems. Because when we live and carry these stories in our brain, in our consciousness, and our subconscious, we also, another form of protection, another protector part, is gastrointestinal issues, is fibromyalgia, it's migraines, it's sleep disorders. Those are psychosomatic conditions that are often masking impermissible feelings. And there's a whole chapter on that.
So I always have this next to me, by the way, your deck. And Michaela's also a friend of mine. Of course, we would be put in the same, we'd find each other in the stream, right? She kind of speaks this.
My two rabbis, you and Michaela.
Oh my God, I adore her. But I pull one of these cards at least once a day, sometimes more than once a day. And whenever I pull one, sometimes I'll share it with my sister, or I'll share it on a call. I'll show people the card deck. And everybody wants to live here. Everybody really wants to live here, where this is what we're thinking and therefore feeling and therefore giving ourselves oxytocin or dopamine or whatever comes with our internal pharmacy based on what we're thinking. But it feels really hard to stay here.
Yeah.
And so what do you offer for people who they get it? They've had moments of seeing how good this feels and how true this feels, and they want to sustain it. What can we do?
Well, it's not like you're going to start a path like this and then like live in the miraculous all the time. And I once had a audience member in England say to me, Gabby, do you live in light all the time? And I was like, hell no, but I come back fast. So it's not about living in the deck, living in those affirmations every second of your day. It's about having the resilience and the practice that makes it easier and swifter to come back fast.
Yeah. Leave us with one mantra that helps us return to the self, that helps us return to that place where we find inner peace and freedom. What's one that you love?
It would be an affirmation of compassion. Speaking to ourselves, I love you. I honor you. I respect you. And I'm here for you.
Love it. You are a force.
Right back.
I'm so grateful that you chose to do your assignment. And I'm so grateful that you are here today and that you allowed me to hold that space and that you even then showed up for me in such a profound way. Tell everybody where they can get the book next week and where they can follow more of you.
The book is called Happy Days, The Guided Path from Trauma to Profound Freedom and Inner Peace. You can get it wherever you buy your books. You can go to deargabby.com/happy days. I'm giving away a live event if you get the book before the 26th.
So fun.
The other places you can find me, my podcast is called Dear Gabby. I do what I did here with you, which I Dear Gabby to you. And when I coach people and support them with the methods I have and in love. And I am also on Instagram at Gabby Bernstein.
You are light, and your podcast, I feel like we should have you back another time just to talk about your podcast because it's so extraordinary. And I actually reached out to your team when you started it. I was like, if there's any way that I can do anything extra just with my own free time and free will to support her podcast, because it is so essential. So everybody go listen, and we will put an extra link. And I'm here. If there's anything at all, I mean, you have 1,000 people like me who are helping every second and wanting to support you, but just I'm on the list of people willing to fly your flag in any possible way.
I love you. And I want to invite your little girl to a backyard barbecue anytime.
I love you. And the way you cook, I'm like, oh, I'm there for that. God bless you. And may everything you do be so matzliach. May it just be received fully. And may you continue to have all of the most incredible opportunities to shine your light, and may it continue to be received in the world. And may you just feel the ripple effects of how much grace and healing you offer just being you.
That is so received. I'm sending it right back to you. God bless you.